Hello everyone, joining me now is Heidi Frail. Heidi is running for the select board this year. Heidi, welcome to the Needham channel.
Thank you for having me.
I still remember that a few years ago, before COVID, that we were having a conversation about some other potential Needham channel program, and you were telling me that the national political climate made you want to run for the town meeting. Here we are. I think you're on your second term now. So tell me why this year select board, and do you feel like you are ready for this?
I do feel like I'm ready for it. I'm in the second term of my second year of my second term as a town meeting member, but I've had some other experience in town as well. I've served on the board of the League of Women Voters for a number of years. Just stepped down in the spring. And I'm also an elected member of the Democratic Town Committee, and I've done that for a couple of cycles as well. So I feel like I've learned a lot about how the town works, a lot about what's required of its volunteers, and have come to feel that my personal life will now accommodate the kind of commitment that I'd like to make. Running for select board, being a select board member is a considerable commitment, and I didn't want to make a commitment like that before I was ready in terms of knowing about the town and how it functions, but also making sure that I had enough time in my personal life to make that commitment and do it well.
Yeah, I personally feel like I've known you for pretty well, seeing you hosting the League of Women Voters events and in some other scenarios. But for people who don't know you, who are you, and like what's your job, like what is your family like?
Well, I have been in Needham now for 18 years, something like most people. I always judge by the age of my oldest child. So my older son Max is a sophomore at Northeastern. He's in their School of Engineering. And my younger son Leo is a junior at the high school. My husband Stephen works now from home for MathWorks, and he is a climate activist within town and in the area. And I work as a radiographer, otherwise known as an X-ray technologist. I've been with Newton Wellesley Hospital now for almost 15 years. Though I don't work at the hospital anymore, I work as part of a care team. We do interventional pain procedures, and I work on Wells Avenue and manage radiology services at that site. So that's a fabulous place if you need any kind of health care. During the pandemic, I stepped back from a lot of my activities to use that time to think about what I really wanted to do. And I filled that time with some things that hadn't appealed to me in the past, actually. I did a lot of puzzles. And I think that having that time alone, in my family we call it wreaking order, taking a thing that's all broken into pieces and putting it together, let my mind relax and think about how I wanted to spend my time moving forward once the craziness of the pandemic or the isolation of the pandemic was over. So, as I said, I stepped down from the board of the league in the spring and really began to think about, during that quiet time, kind of how I wanted to move forward, feeling like I wanted to make a difference. My kids are growing up, and soon I'll be an empty nester. I think at that point, people of my age have a choice, really. You can start to think about what you're going to do after, and perhaps moving on from the home and the community in which you raised your kids. Or you can kind of become reconnected in a different way. A lot of times people are connected through their children and the schools and so on. And so I decided to become more connected, and not through my kids, but through the community of volunteers who run this town.
How do you think some of your skills from your career or from your past experiences in town can transfer to your future responsibilities as a select board member?
First of all, I think being in healthcare, any kind of healthcare, no matter what you do, what role you play, you're caring for people and you're listening to their stories and you're trying to help them be. Where I work, we just try to help people be more functional, to enjoy their lives. So I think there's an element of that. Before I was in healthcare, I was in sales and marketing. Something that's, I think, very important as far as any kind of public life or public role is valuing communication and listening. When you're in sales, you need to listen to your customer. You need to understand their needs before you can help to propose a solution.
Your name is going to be the only one on the ballot this year, I mean, for the select board seat, but actually I think that's even more important for people to know your focus and your priorities, because most likely you are going to work with the other members to make some very important decisions that can affect the future of the town. So what are some of the areas that you want to work on?
Well, I totally agree. And I would just like to say before I get to that is just that I really feel like it's important that people feel like they have a choice. So I recognize I'm the only one on the ballot. You really don't have a choice. But it would be my preference to still try, despite the fact that there's no contested election, to get to know people, to talk to people, to share my ideas and hear theirs. Because I think participation in the process, even if there's only one candidate, can come through the sharing of those ideas. I would really like people to feel like they can go in and vote for me because they want to, not because I'm the only choice. I think the communication is very, very important. I think it's well known that the town website is not always so helpful, although it is undergoing a renovation and you know, that is well in hand. But I do think that despite that, and in the meantime, it is really hard for people to get the information that they need to participate in town. I'm talking about like the dates of meetings and what's going to be discussed and what happened at those meetings and so on. All of that really is available on the town website, but I do think that there's a difference between being available and being easily accessible. I think there are lots of solutions that we could implement in addition to the ones that are already underway in town, the town website, et cetera, that would really help people to move beyond I need to get the information to then having an informed discussion about it. So that is very important to me because there are so many issues that are so important right now. For me, climate change is where it's at. Mitigating climate change, making people's lives better as we move through a period of change is really important to me. Tied up in that is diversity of housing stock, making sure that more people can live here in a way that is comfortable for them, in a way in which they feel welcome. That's very important to me. And to me, that's all tied back up with climate. There's going to be more people moving in from places where climate change is a bigger factor right now than it is right now in Needham. But even there are factors of climate change here right now. You know, increased flooding, for example, weird, crazy weather that affects our roads. There's all kinds of stuff. And so all of these issues really need to be discussed. I'm looking forward to talking with people about all of these issues, and I'm looking forward to their participation. We have some issues facing us, whether it's the school building plan or the MBTA transit-oriented housing plan. There's a million things going on. And so I'm hoping that I can help be a productive part of that.
On your website, I saw one sentence about motivating people to take action and inspiring people to get involved. Give me some example of how will you increase the public engagement in some of the process?
Well, I think one of the things is that everyone has such divergent interests. I mean, there's just such a broad range of things to get worked up about, right? It's important for all of us to bring all of our strengths to the table so that everything gets the attention that it deserves. You know, each person can only do so much, but if we all contribute, we can get so much more done. So as far as how would I inspire people? Well, people often have an item, a thing, a cause that worries them, and they think that their contribution isn't really going to make a difference. I can show them by telling them, but I can show them by being myself and doing it myself, that everybody's contribution makes a difference. And it may just, it will certainly make that person feel better to do something productive and constructive on an issue that they care about. But it takes the strength of millions to move the needle. And I hope that I can broadcast that to other people.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Be gentle. It's going to take a long time to learn all of the things that go with all of the issues. But I'm going to do my very best to be a productive and functioning member of the select board as quickly as I can. I will mess up, but I will do my very best all the time. Yeah, and I will try very hard to be accessible to people. And I look forward to continued conversation.
All right, thank you so much for coming in and talking to me today, and good luck with the election.
Thank you.